Hello, welcome to Real Film Snobs. I'm Brian Michael.
That would make me Angela Yeager. We have a special episode for you this week. We are looking at 6 1970s sci-fi films. Why sci-fi? Well, let's just say Angela's a little obsessed with the Criterion Channel right now, and they were featuring it, and there were a lot on there I hadn't seen. And I was surprised because I felt like we've done several sci-fi episodes on the show over the years, several evergreens like this. Yeah, quite a few. Yeah, remember we got to review The Wonderful Boy and His Dog. Yeah, that horrible movie. So surprisingly, there were quite a few on there I hadn't seen, and they looked interesting. So we said, what the heck? Let's make an evergreen out of it. So here we are. So we'll kick off with our first movie that we're going to review. I just put these in order chronologically. The Omega Man from 1971, directed by Boris Sagal. And lone survivor Dr. Robert Neville, played by Charlton Heston, who's featured prominently in this episode, battles zombie-like mutants called the Family. So, I had never seen this movie before, which I know you found shocking because you grew up. You grew up in Oregon, where they apparently played it.
I'm a KTU Channel 12 kid, and they show this movie once a year.
On TV.
I watched it. Oh, yeah.
Must have been an edited version, because this version has nudity and things in it. So, yeah, I would imagine it's a little different.
It was a different time.
No, I'm pretty sure it was on K2 like that. But, so this was probably, should I say this is my least favorite of the ones?
KPTV, Channel 12, sorry.
This might be one of my least favorite of the ones we're going to review. No. It's got some fun aspects, but I kind of knew where it was going. The family, the zombie-like mutants, just are like actors with bad white makeup on their faces, and it's pretty cheeseball looking. I do think it's funny that he's this doctor that, of course he's Charlton Heston, so he also has like machine guns, and he's like totally and he's always got cars with fuel in them to run around the city, and he's just, picking them off one by one. And then there's a nice twist in the movie where he meets he finds other humans that haven't turned into zombies yet, and so he kind of starts to bond with some of these folks. So there's some good scenes there. But this one's really dated.
Oh yeah, but this is such a cool movie. When I was a kid, I loved this movie, and it was because the ending really put I think it was one of the first movies I watched where the ending really sucked me in the gut, because it was like, oh, it's not a happy ending. This is what a bummer, dude. And because that's what I said when I was a kid. And so when we said we can watch this, I thought, oh, awesome. And I have not seen it since I was a kid.
Oh,
and
really?
I remember the beginning, and I remember the ending, and I don't remember the middle stuff. And I enjoyed the middle stuff. Now, this was, of course, a remake of I Am Legend that also had Vincent Price, and then got remade after this with Will Smith. What an interesting triple feature that is. Vincent Price, Charlton Heston, and Will Smith.
All playing the same character.
This is the first time all three have been mentioned in the same sentence. And if you do it in a mirror, they'll appear. I enjoyed the action of it. Charlton Heston made some really cool science fiction movies with Omega Man, Soylent Green, and Battle of the Planet of the Apes, which is really actually pretty cool. For this, because he was the big epic guy, and he was from kind of old Hollywood. He does have a certain acting style and choice. That's William Shatner's just right behind him. And but I enjoyed this, and I do like this movie an awful lot. When we first did, I was like, oh, this is a 4-star movie easily. Then I rewatched it and went, oh, it's 3.5, only because of the nostalgia in there.
Brian.
It is, but I do enjoy a lot of the things that they have in there. And I thought for a while, gosh, when we watched it, I'm like, is it just he's the old way, and these are hippies? Because a lot of them have big hair and whatever. And it's not necessarily the hippies, so to say. The younger generation are the ones that he's actually trying to help and joining up with. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the zombies were actually, they were trying to conform into this other thing. And so it wasn't the culture shock that I thought, because Charlton Heston's watching Woodstock in the theater, which I'd forgotten all about. So those are kind of interesting.
He's just watching that over and over. Yeah, and it's interesting because the family, the zombies, are like Luddites, sort of. I mean, they're like anti-technology, and they're anti... But
that was really interesting.
Yeah, because they think that the curse is actually a gift, and it's punishment for, you know, man going awry.
Yeah.
And so they've decided to embrace it.
And then the
despite
leader was the
fact
guy that
it
was
makes
the
them look really
newscaster, which I
scary.
didn't put that together when I was a kid, so that was pretty cool. And
Yeah.
it's a really interesting film. Yeah, it's probably
Super
a 3-star
dated.
film, but
It's a 3-star.
it's 3.5 for me because this one holds a lot of nostalgia for me.
Okay,
I'll say it.
so we'll move on to our next in our Charlton Heston double feature here. Just happened to be in the order that we're going in. Soylent Green from 1973 by Richard Fleischer, and this is where Charlton Heston plays a New York City cop who is investigating the murder of a CEO in a post-apocalyptic world ravaged by pollution and overpopulation. Sound familiar? This one actually I thought was really good, and I had never seen any of these films, so I don't need to say that every time. This is famous for being Edward G. Robinson's last role,
Yes.
which is, you know, a very poignant. There are some dated parts of this movie, but the thing that I really liked about it is here we are in 1973, we're talking about climate change. Everything's hot, and it feels hot. Charlton Heston is sweating like a mother in this movie. He is just sweating all over New York City, and there's, you know, and there's the haves and the have-nots. Here you go, double feature with Parasite, because almost everyone's in the have-not character. Everyone is poor and struggling to get by, including his character, even though he has a job, you know. And so then he goes into this rich person's apartment at the very beginning. I thought, is Charlton Heston's police officer character a bad guy? Because he immediately goes into the victim's home and starts taking
Confiscating and stuff.
taking food out of the
Stealing.
fridge,
Pretty much
because the
stealing.
victim is a very rich person who has, you know, things he has. He's like, oh, milk, meat, eggs, you know. I mean, he's just taking, out booze, things that he doesn't have. But it's literally like survival of the fittest. People are just taking whatever
But
resources
then
they
what's
can.
the amazing part is, and he takes it back to home. Like, does he live with Edward G. Robinson? I didn't understand the
wasn't clear
situation
about
there,
that
but
part.
whichever.
Yeah.
Give it to Edward G. Robinson, who I didn't recognize at first because my mom immediately was like, "Oh, I love him." I'm like, "Who the heck is this? Oh my God, it's Edward G. Robinson." And then once I said that, I was like, "Oh yeah, wow, he's short." But man, is he good in this? He is so good, because when he brings in this fresh fruit and he's just like, "Oh my gosh, it's meat and it's milk and lettuce," and Charlton Heston's like, "I don't get it." And he's like, "Oh, your generation, they don't understand," and he gets really excited about
Edward
this.
G. Robinson's this tie to the past because he remembered
Yes.
what like the Earth was like before.
Yeah.
And so he's this nostalgic character, and Charlton Heston's character kind of gets a little impatient with him at times. Like, yeah, I heard about, you know, when the grass was green and there was clean water, you know.
So this
Shut
one,
your-
I
yeah.
will say I've never seen. Now, obviously, there's a very famous line that we all know, everybody will know there. I won't spoil it, though. But it is the ending. So I thought, gosh, you know, finally, let's just do this movie because I just want to knock it out. Never got around to seeing it. But I'm like, I've seen the end of the movie, so what's the point? But I mean, I know the end of the movie, so what's the point? But that doesn't get into that part until the very end of it, and by that time it's fine because I've really engrossed myself into this movie. It is really good. I'm
I
so
was
glad
surprised,
you
yeah.
liked it. It's like, oh man, this is really surprising me how much I really
You kind
enjoyed
of felt
this
like there
film.
was this whole world, you know, and
Yeah.
then there's these lines where people are lining up for their Soylent Green packets or for the packets
Yep.
of food, and there's these huge food lines, and it's the look of it, it's very like yellow, you know, because it's so polluted,
Yeah.
and everybody, it's just hot all the time, and
But the riot
a
with
little-
the people movers, which is the dump
Oh.
truck, was awesome. Oh, that's a pretty
that's
good idea.
horrible though.
That's
horrible.
a really good
But,
idea.
yeah, everything is just it was just I thought a lot of it was very just seemed really relevant today. You know, sometimes you see old sci-fi movies, you're like, oh yeah, you know, okay, that's how we're all gonna go. Zombies, for instance. But this is just like, oh yeah, it's just overpopulation and pollution. Seemed pretty
People
realistic.
scraping by and doing what
People
they can to
scraping
get
by, and
Yeah.
the haves and the have-nots,
Pretty
and
impressive.
they have these centers that you go into to basically off yourself, like you can't handle it anymore, and
Yeah.
they basically take you through and like, okay, you want to go? Let's go.
And then it was like, oh, here we go. Oh, I know what this is about. Here
Yeah.
we go. So really surprising film.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next one, which is the film I had not seen, and I was really excited about it because I just hadn't got it checked off my list. If you're a completist, that was John Carpenter's Dark Star, or just Dark Star because later, after making Halloween, then he gets to put his name above the title. After that all the time. And of course, I'm a huge fan. I actually had a Blu-ray copy that just came in the mail of The Thing on my coffee table, but we had to sit and watch this for the show. This is about, in the far reaches of space, a small crew find things beginning to go hilariously wrong. It's a comedy. And,
Sci-fi comedy.
A sci-fi comedy.
Call it a
And
precursor to Spaceballs.
What you would call this? It's a student film that later on got enough funding so they could shoot extra scenes. It went in the theater. It kind of got a cult. It didn't do so well. Critics kind of liked it, and then on Life on Video, it got a cult following. And I would say on a Saturday night with a few drinks with my friends watching this, I would totally enjoy this movie. It's a 3-star film for me. But sober, it's a little slow. and it's not as
I
funny
think it
as
would
you
have
would
been
think
better as a
beach
shorter
ball.
film.
Yeah, as a beach ball attacking and rolling, a guy rolling
Okay,
around.
some of the
in it.
beach ball was funny. When the little arms come out at one part, I started laughing really hard. It looked funny.
It's low budget.
Yes, but I liked that. I thought it was very
I
funny.
couldn't tell one guy from the other because they're all
It's
just white
two-
dudes with beards.
Yeah, they all look like dudes from 1974. I probably enjoyed this one quite a bit more than I thought I was going to. You know, it feels less like a John Carpenter film than... So Dan O'Bannon, who plays Pinback, the character in the movie, who's a really funny character, he wrote Alien and Aliens. And I see more correlation between this film and that than I do with anything John Carpenter did, other than the synth score. Because some of the humor and the idea of these people trapped in this ship and then they're making bad decisions. And I read this great quote after I saw this movie. I was looking up information about it. And Dan O'Bannon said he went to some of the preview screenings and people weren't laughing when he thought they would with the beach ball, and they weren't reacting the way he had hoped in some of the screenings. And he thought, well, you know what? If I can't make them laugh, I'm going to scare them. So next time I'm going to have something that pops out. So thus Alien, that really scares the pants off of people. And he succeeded in that as well. Beautifully. But I thought this was really funny. There's a great song that seems totally not like anything else in the movie that opens the movie, Benson, Arizona. That's this like country song with pedal steel. That's awesome. It's a great song, by the way. I have no idea what it has to do with anything. It has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. I have no idea. Benson, Arizona and outer space. Yeah. It kind of plays on a lot of these tropes, though, with outer space movies. Particularly 2001 is the one that reminded me of a lot, because there's this computer that talks to them. Then in this movie, the computer is a woman who's actually very sensible, which I thought was also interesting, thinking of Alien again, about the woman being the only voice of reason. There's another character that's the bomb, and its character is literally, the character's name is Bomb, and it's a male, and it just constantly is harassing the crew members saying, please let me out so I can bomb something, regardless of what's going on. There's a lot of nice strings, but I think it would have been better as a short.
Yeah.
It did seem to drag on a bit.
Yeah,
so.
a little bit there. But it was, it's cool to be able to find it on streaming, because it's the ones that, it definitely wasn't in. I don't think it was the video. It was in the Shutterbug that I rented movies from when I was a kid.
And I love the lo-fi special effects, the little ship going across the... It looks like someone holding
sometimes it goes across fine, and then other times it kind of,
but that's great.
It kind of jumps. I was like, oh, come on,
for
guys.
A student film, come on, it's fun.
Oh, yeah, for a student film, this is pretty darn...
I'd be super impressed. If someone submitted this to a local film fest I was putting on, I'd be like, yes, I'm showing this. This is awesome. Everyone will have fun. This beach ball has arms, and it's trying to attack people. I'm all on board, so, okay.
Okay, so move on to our next movie. All right, so then... When I see the list of movies that Angela had sent me, and I'm like, Tia, check whatever that one is. I already seen that movie. No. And we just done Westworld. No. Death Race 2000. One, because it was a Saturday night movie that I never got to see. It's a cult film I've never gotten around to see. This one definitely wasn't in the Shutterbug that I rented movies from. But I really wanted to make Angela watch this movie really bad. And it's made by Paul Dartel. Dartel, I'm not familiar with his other films. But this stars David Carradine and Sylvester Stallone, and an early role for Sylvester Stallone. And this is in a dystopian future. A cross-country car race requires contestants to run down innocent pedestrians to gain points that are tallied based on how brutal the kills are. I didn't know about the killing. I just figured it was just a race movie. So when they started offing people, it's pretty darn funny. This is such a B movie and totally knows it, wears it proudly, and really goes full throttle on it. It's always that red paint that's supposed to be blood that doesn't look anything very realistic, but so it kind of makes it kind of campy and kind of silly. Some of the killings are a little more brutal. Some are kind of funny because people who are out there and they put the people out in the wheel that are ready to die, and he takes the sidewalk and kills all of the nurses instead. I mean,
it's like really, messed up. This movie is
so
weird,
twisted and fun, and I would have enjoyed this totally when I was a teenager.
It's funny that this is listed as sci-fi because it's really not. I mean, it's, in terms of science fiction, there's nothing like futuristic about it per se. It's definitely apocalyptic, dystopian. So Roger Corman produced this, who is famous, of course, for giving a lot of young auteurs a shot and just saying, hey, make a movie, here's the script, do whatever you want visually. And there are some cool visuals in this movie. David Carradine is wearing this weird, like S&M looking outfit, with the mask and the whole thing. And all the women, I think you texted me about this. On one hand, you're like, is this feminist or not? And I'm like, like,
Yeah.
no, it's a Roger Corman film, so it's definitely not. On one hand, they are strong women. On the
Yes.
other hand, they're naked the whole time.
Well,
So,
some of them were, and then some were
mostly naked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But some of them were some of the guys.
if
so,
you're a
know.
fan of Tarantino or Robert Rodriguez and you haven't seen this film, then you have to see this film because there's the obvious influences. Even the name Death Race 2000, so Death Proof, which Tarantino went on to do, is there's so much that's stolen from this movie that you can't help but see it. The kills, so each of the cars, what I thought was cool is each of the cars looks different and is rigged with like a different kind of death machine on the front. Some of them have like big
death machine.
Well, yeah, some of them
I never thought I'd hear you say on the show.
Death machine on the front.
Machine rigged on the front.
Well, some of them have like big claws that come up where they can like run into people and scoop them up, and other ones have these things that come out and kind of like impale people. There's just different ways, and they really have. And apparently, you get more points if it's children or old people, which is crazy to me.
You're out there at a picnic.
Or if you're picnicking, and so the plot of this is just insane.
Then there's something about the French and some.
What it also reminded me of as I was watching it. Weirdly, I kept thinking about Hunger Games. I thought, well, this isn't too far off. Very similar. Yeah. They make these people get together every year, and they go out and they have to kill people. I mean, the difference being in Hunger Games, if it's served the contestants themselves have to survive. In this case, the car drivers come back year after year, but yeah, it's a weird. That is a weird movie. I'm recommending it.
Oh, yes!
But I'm recommending it because as I was watching it, I was like laughing to myself.
Oh, yeah.
I probably laughed more at that one than I did Dark Star because it's just got wackier and wackier as it went on.
It's absolutely silly. Gosh, I wish we did have a Midnight Theater here, or I knew of it and we had seen those type of films.
That would be a really fun one to watch with a group.
Yep. Pizza and beer. That's my pairing. Pizza and beer with this movie.
Yeah, and Dark Star, too. Maybe a double feature. So, okay, moving on to our next film, which is Shivers, 1975 by David Cronenberg. Of course, he went on to become kind of a horror master. This is about a suburban high-rise complex that becomes infected by a strain of parasites that turn people into sex-crazed maniacs. Yes, you heard me correctly. So, David Cronenberg, who went on to make lots of films that actually involve these very themes that he's addressing here in very early in his career, this kind of
body horror, fear of technology because this parasite gets out because of a technological experiment, a criticism of like suburbia and class issues because you have these people, they've moved to like the Vancouver Island, I think are supposed to be, or no, it's not Vancouver, it's somewhere in Canada. Anyway, they moved to an island where they've put this complex because they want to be away from everyone, of course, which allows the thing to spread like crazy all over this high-rise modern complex. And then of course lots of lust and sex, which he became famous for in his career. So it's all the usual Cronenberg things. The thing about this movie is it's another one that's like it's more like sci-fi horror. The issue I have with this one, I think he just got better later in his career because it's not very scary at all. No, it's not. It was a huge hit in Canada. It was like the biggest grossing film, which I'm like, really, guys?
Well, what else is going in Canada in 1975? Not a lot of competition there.
You got to think, and watch this. I'm going to compare it to Shakespeare because you look at early Shakespeare where he used a lot of, golly, what was the name of that the movie they made from the play? Was it Titus? Is that what the one it was? It was very bloody and, and that's how you get attention and certainly to this is a weird start to his career, kind of like Boxcar Bertha in ways of watching Scorsese and going, oh, yeah, it's a student film and maybe this guy will be something really good, and then he makes a personal film and it's like, here we go. This film is kind of the same thing. It's not very well made. It's an interesting idea. It wasn't very scary at all, and after a while you're kind of like, it's the same thing kind of over and over again.
It's just the same thing over and over. It doesn't have any new ideas.
But you certainly can see as a start off for him, and then he just takes off with this idea and really makes a fantastic career. So this would definitely be one for completionists. If you've seen a lot of his films, this one's kind of I never heard of it actually, and just thought it was maybe some student film or something that never be able to find. So
we
really
just watched another one of his on a previous episode that I've already forgotten the name of that was pretty misogynistic, but at least was. Had some interesting ideas.
We did?
Yeah, the Cronenberg film that we just watched on the show. No, I'll remember later after we're not on camera.
Just recently,
anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty recently. It was like a month ago. I've already forgotten.
Yeah, but that was like 15, 20
How's your
movies.
favorite guy, Oliver?
Yeah.
That guy.
Which Oliver? Oliver, the little singing kid, or
no?
or
He's
Oliver
in
Platt?
No, not Oliver Platt, the guy that was in Oliver, the singing kid, but he's the big handsome guy.
Oh. Oh.
And he played the doctor who was doing the experiments on the women.
Oh, yeah, The Brood.
The Brood. That was that Cronenberg film.
There we go.
Thank you for remembering the name. We didn't love that one either, but I would say that one was a little bit better than this one. It didn't go anywhere, and it just seemed to go on, and I was getting really bored. I'm like, I get it. The parasites are taking over, and now everyone's jumping on each other. Yeah, it was just, they needed more than one idea. So at least 2 ideas would be good. Speaking of ideas.
Speaking of really needing an idea. Oh, I'm just going to preface this by saying Julia Christie is one of my favorite actresses, and I think she's one of the just most talented actresses ever to grace the screen. And if you see the films she's turned down, which is just jaw-dropping, or at least was optioned, it's amazing. But in 1977, she decided to make a movie called Demonseed. And it's about a scientist who creates Proteus. I'd forgotten the name of the computer until I wrote down the explanation. Proteus, an organic supercomputer with AI, and becomes obsessed with the creator's wife. And Proteus has the best line in the movie where it says, "I'm alive." Is this a stinker? This is a really, really bad movie. So Julia Christie pretty much becomes trapped inside the house where the computer has now based itself, and it kind of runs everything, where it was able to make coffee for somebody and blah, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, it traps her in the house, and she can't get out. And then it impregnates her. Please don't ask me how. And then and then it fights the computer. I will give points to this. When it comes out, and it's like a prism, and then it goes into a snake shape, and then it kind of has a couple kills, which were decent kills in the movie, and I kind of like that.
Kills.
Yeah, they're pretty good kills.
I like how you're rating the movie like,
I mean, it was pretty good. There was a couple
like a 3-star kill.
Well, that's what you said about The Omen. The Omen was good and had some really good kills. And this one had a couple decent ones that had some good ideas, and I like that computer, so I was like, okay, I'm going to lean into this further. But every time they show Julia Christie, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? You are in McCabe and Miss Miller. You are capable of amazing,
and this is not like
awesome
this is
things.
not a late period edge of her career. This is 77.
Yeah.
1977. Julie Christie is one of the hottest actresses,
She was just
literally
in
the world.
Yeah, amazing.
She's at the peak of her career, and she decided to make this one. I don't know
so
what her agent or her was thinking.
This is such a
I think you hated it more than I did.
Not even laughable. It's so bad.
I think you hated it more than I did, in part because I didn't like it. I'm not going to recommend it. Don't worry. But there's some interesting ideas here. So there is a nugget of a good movie that could be in here. So you have the idea of this computer. You know, of course, I'm sort of a Luddite, so I kind of like that takes over. Like, this guy is really obsessed with his house being technological, everything's wired up, and that the computer takes over. You know, we've seen that before, sure. But it also develops a consciousness, which is very interesting, because at one point it tells him, no, I'm not going to do this like mining in the ocean, because that doesn't make any sense. It's also, you know, reasoning, like, I'm not going to do that because that will destroy the earth.
Angela, it
but then on the other hand,
so
it impregnates.
How does that do that?
Well, if you were a supercomputer and you had one woman to impregnate in the world, wouldn't you want to pick Julia Christie? I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, how? How does this happen?
Well, we saw it. We saw it. We don't really want to. I don't want to think about it again.
How does the rest of that work?
I really wish they hadn't showed that, because it literally straps her down and then puts these needles in the side of her head to kind of calm her down, and then the computer does things to Julia Christie.
I just keep on thinking, there's no organic material there. It's just as like, ugh. And then she's okay with it. And it's like, no, we're pregnant. And then it's been like 28 days, and then she has then the last line, I'll give away the ending. The child, it gives birth. They try to destroy the thing. She gives birth, and the thing is robot, and they peel it away, and it's a little face, and it goes, "I'm alive," or was it, or "I'm free," or something. I don't know.
Is it "I'm free" or "I'm alive"?
I don't know.
I think it says "I'm alive."
I laughed so hard, I almost fell off the couch.
Well, did you see that coming, though, that it was going to be their daughter?
No, and I don't care.
You don't care.
I'd rather watch Don't Look Now.
But why did it have the skeleton? Why did it look like a robot on the outside, but underneath it was like a human?
Yeah, it was like Mr. Roboto. It looked like
But then he also warned them not to take it out of the incubator too soon, and they did anyway. So then I'm like, is it messed up
I
now?
know, yeah. What's the worry about that child from this stupid movie that'll never? No one has seen this movie. No one has seen this movie.
Well, someone had.
If
We
you have
just
seen
watched
this movie,
it.
please write in, and if you like this movie, I really want to know why. But I mean, no, this was how Julia Christie. Why? No. Please don't. This wasn't like a late in my career. Oh crud! Let me just.
I have nothing
catch a
better
check.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
This
no.
was like,
Peak
why
of
are
her
you in
career.
here? All
Yeah,
I kept doing was
70s
look at this and going, no. Why are you in this movie? Please stop. Please kill her.
Maybe she thought the screenplay was better than, I don't know. I'm trying to understand it myself. I can't.
She went and was like, oh, this is what years from now when computers are doing everything and making your coffee. Do they do that yet? Yeah, this will be a real tale of caution. No, what it did is for other actresses to go, ooh, don't let her pick my movies, because she turned down Chinatown.
Oh, did she?
Chinatown. It was offered. I don't know how much of an offer that was, or if she was mentioned.
For this, or
Yes.
just in general? It's around the same time, right?
Yeah. She could have been in Chinatown. I think that's, that was one of the things I was looking at. They're like, oh yeah, she turned
She
down
was like,
this.
she was probably like, oh, Chinatown, that's offensive.
But
There's incest in this movie. Well, this one you get impregnated by a computer. So I don't know. Which one's...
Well, maybe she was also, they said she turned down The Godfather, but I think that was also because Roger Evans was trying to put, Robert Redford and Julia Christie in The Godfather.
He's just like, let's have the two best looking people on the planet.
Yeah, that's all he was wanting to do.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, his wife, no, never mind.
Okay. So to
yeah.
recap, that was our sci-fi episode looking at 1970s sci-fi films. Soylent Green, no, wait, that wasn't the first one. Which one was the first one?
Omega Man.
We both recommend Brian, I think, more than me.
Yes.
Soylent Green, I highly recommend.
Really? Yeah, no.
Surprisingly.
Right?
I can't believe I
stars,
said
giving
that.
it?
Yeah, 3.5.
Yeah,
I don't know if
really?
any of these films are, none of these are 4-star. Let's be honest. We don't have a 4-star film here. Soylent Green, yes, I definitely recommend. Dark Star, I recommend 3 stars.
Yeah.
Barely.
Yeah.
It started as a short, and the studio made them make it longer, and I think that was the problem.
Yep.
Sometimes things should be short. Death Race 2000, man, if you're a fan, again, I said, of Tarantino or Rodriguez films, you definitely want to
So
check
much
that
fun.
out. Shivers, neither of us, I think, can recommend. No. And obviously, we cannot recommend Demonseed unless you just are a glutton for punishment.
Criterion, what are you doing?
You've seen every other movie that's ever been made in the history of the world, including all films over. And then, we would just say start over, but don't watch this one. Okay. So as always, you can check out our reviews on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. You can check out our website at realfilmsnobs.com. You can check us out on Twitter or on Facebook. You can listen to us on KMUZ Radio, and you can watch us here on CCTV in Salem, Corvallis Access Media, or Scan in Silverton. I'd like to thank my fantastic and charming and handsome co-host. Well, we have time. I'm dragging it out.
I'm like, is there more time? Keep going. This is great.
Our fantastic, wonderful sponsors and our hardworking crew. As always, have a great day and great movies.